Okay, so now we are on to chapter 11 of Double Grape. Drink it now. Chapter 11 has this illustration. Nice little illustration. A guy looking over there for some reason. Maybe he's just a bit shy. I don't know, I just drew him that way. I just ate something. Chapter 9 at this moment. The long night of August 6th, 2115 passes slowly and surely. Feet lightly trample the metal floors of the train cars and the platform leading to the rest of the Denver rail hub. Mr. Albertus and Mr. Zerona end their 4-hour journey and contribute their feet to the sublime walk, which all their fellow travelers make. The young demon, having packed his computer back into his bag, stands up out of his seat and makes his way toward the streamlined doorway along with everyone else. The fugitives walk normally, not as if they wear the visages of shotgun and rifle-wielding thieves and criminals, but like two weary travelers looking for lodging. As their inhuman bodies rend the cold air before their hectic souls, they walk through the very first street that they can find. Lights are everywhere. This is what would be called the Old Town decades ago, once popular during the very early 21st century, and since then quietly riddled with the effects of tourism, development, and age. All of the buildings from exactly 100 years ago or longer are spruced up, renovated, and even replaced. The new versions are still somewhat beautiful in their own light, but in 7 hours, the sun will rise and turn their LED signs useless. One of these is a hostel, a stack of perfectly square modular buildings rising 65 feet into the forest of other buildings, where John and Timothy sit at a bench in front of a door painted a glowing rainbow bleed. King Prism's lodge is covered in a slew of different glowing patterns, all using the same fluorescent exterior paint. Each block in the stack is a different pattern, and all share the same light palette. A funny-looking human in a red double-breasted coat bursts open the rainbow door. "Hey there," he calls to the two fugitives, his green pompadour bouncing under the door frame. "You don't get to sit out there like some bombs. There's plenty of room in the lobby." The elf-like man beams a smile common of a type of person which is still rare these days, the type to know the dangers of strangers, having experienced great emotional pain, and still wish to bring others near him, care for them, and love them with a strangely fresh love which dwells nowhere but moves in and out of his heart. The love draws the fugitives indoors without so much as a shrug. "Welcome to King Prism's. You're looking for a place to stay." The 25-foot by 25-foot by 10-foot bottom block is reserved for the lobby and checking counter. Behind each main room, in each standardized module, is a stairwell connecting it to the next, and the setup is topped off with a covered deck on the roof. The fourth block in the stack is where Mr. Albertus and Mr. Zerona now live for the time being. The sun slowly rises and shines into the unblinded windows in the stairwell, through which lodgers travel occasionally, from their block to the lobby to the street and to any of the breakfast-type restaurants out in the town. There is a normally clogged road in front of the hostel. Hover cars, going through their daily routine, begin to adjust the tilt on their electromagnets and travel slower, not to smash into those in front. A short period of honking enters John's dreamland, causing him to feel shortly irritated. Timothy is already up, in the bathroom, feeling the excitement of the circumstances. He strongly refrains from the urge to cool himself down, thumping his paws on the countertop. "I can't do that," he reminds himself. "Not now." He gets dressed, bends his torso forward, quietly walks into the main room, and sits down, searching for a mundane collection of thoughts with which to dull the excitement. The eventful, indescribable escape from the Mick left the poor Canid in a manic state. He has been withholding much of the energy he used to expend alone in his quarters. Now, he can't do so much as stand up. The sudden death of an unimportant technical staff member, such as Stephen, was the turning point in his mind, a psychic catalyst to an unhealthy sort of mentality, which continues to hold him out. That is the cause of their meeting the Ashland family, getting tattoos and dyed fur, and stealing an innocent man's rotorcraft. It is why there are 2 charges short on a poor counter attendance roster, and why district authorities are on alert. John had his turning point the minute he was admitted, the second he stepped into the chopper and heard the pilot's voice. Ray must have somehow been affected by their escape, at least in the form of sublime recognition, if not far as consequential devastation, such as unemployment or even death. As John turns on the complimentary television in the main room of the 4th block, he is excited, after long enough time without such, to finally be back to flipping channels and changing volumes. At first, a double Grape advertisement catches and offends his eyes, but then a breaking news broadcast interrupts the shiny aluminum can's 15 seconds. Just in, escaped inmates from the mental institution city complex north of Phoenix are suspected by authorities to have made their way from Nero to Denver. Blares a beautiful bubblehead, the only breaking report documented in her hands and on a teleprompter. The fugitives are considered dangerous. At the time of their escape, they were equipped with non-lethal weapons and ammunition, somehow managing to kill a government worker, a staff member of the institution, and were last seen by workers at the Four Corners station to be carrying a rifle. The feed switches to retrieved security camera footage, a capture of John walking rather more quickly than calmly, as Timothy lumbers with the rifle in grasp. The weapon, after footage gathered from across the Four Corners was analyzed all last night, is most likely a powerful and lethal Mauser M2030. The fugitives, a large demon wearing a purple suit and a canid with rainbow-dyed fur, are seen throughout this footage carrying a yellow reflective bag. If you see any of these 2 or know where they may be hiding, inform your local authorities by contacting them through social media. A transition animation ends the breaking broadcast. John flips it off before more double Grape ads return. That's really terrible. John is hurt by the misunderstanding. We killed that dude by accident, mate. It was totally not our goal. I guess it's their mistake. Timothy sits in a chair by a desk, his back arched, lightly having subdued his excitement. What's up with you? John notices the posture of the canid and stares hungrily in his direction. Nothing, he replies, wary of a vague essence about the demon's look. What are you looking at? He turns his head downward. Oh, I'm sorry. Just startled. Dude, that's fixable. John begins to lace his oldest existing pair of shoes. Let's go for a walk. He's taking the dog for a walk now. The streets of buildings now have their LED signs made ugly by the almost infinite beauty of the morning light. 7:32 a.m. reads a colorless digital clock on the wall of King Prism's lobby, displaying the time exactly when the 2 now roommates exit. They fall lightly upon the low step of the rainbow doorway and stop to their left by the bench, finally deciding to walk south on the sidewalk. Buildings of many kinds sport plenty of cover for their heads from nothing much. Their clothes are already worn too long, no matter how clean the memory of Gavin's charity stays. The yellow reflective bag is not with them, and they cannot brandish their arsenal for their betterment, but only can earn their money. A black and white plastic sign inside the window of a small restaurant beckons for a PC tech and any extra help to inquire within. The fugitives do so quickly. Chilled Diet Dog and its staff are wonderfully adequate culinary professionals, but have no ideas whatsoever regarding the functionality of some of their LED signs, and, most importantly, their television setup. The screens hanging high on the walls of the restaurant require input to come from the HDMI-connected thin client, which sits on a desk with a monitor and classical input. The person who managed this device was smart enough to create another system user for his online pornography searches, but still knew nothing about the technology involved. He downloaded something obviously weird, unaware that something so weird should come with a virus and some sneaky surveillance software. Now, as soon as the machine starts up and connects to the internet, the software goes to work. When John walked into the establishment, he gravitated immediately toward the smell of the kitchen, leading up the stairs and around a dividing wall. Following behind him was Timothy, ears catching the whirring of the thin client's powerful fans. The sign did advertise something quite similar to the need of a fully certified computer technician, the category of which Timothy falls into like a stray power connection in a mechanical component. He makes his way over, looks at the machine, asks a series of questions, clicks, clacks, runs security freeware surprisingly already installed, deletes bad things, cleans the drive, and makes the good little system run like new. The pervert who unwillingly installed the virus, a tall, unkempt man, shakes Timothy's paw with a firm hand. "Thank you. This thing works now." He begins the task of selecting input methods for broadcasting live television streams to the screens. We really need this help, and I can't figure this shit out. Here's this," he huffs, handing Timothy a plastic application form. "If you're interested, and I hope you are from what I saw now." In the kitchen, beautiful people, the type who can make good food, interact with the environment of culinary equipment. John provokes a passing busgirl. You work here, right?" "Yes," the busgirl stops and says. "I do." She almost goes back to her work before the horned man grabs her shoulder. There's a sign in the window that says, "Any extra help, inquire within." "Well, the head chef is right here." The busgirl turns and taps a relatively short person on the shoulder. They carefully clunk their bucket of dry pasta on the floor and face the demon. "Oh man, you're gorgeous." The woman is dark-haired and plump, shining her bright, love-ridden disposition through an attractive smile. "I heard something about the sign. Well, whatever you can do, fill this out first." Her smile turns to an expectation, still gleaming at the new face of a foot above hers, and handing him an application form. "I hope to be working with you," she bouts, turning smoothly back to a large pot of boiling water. Timothy leaves the desk, thin client and secret culprit, to meet John in the hall by the establishment stairwell, and both hold thin sheets of white plastic. They smirk at each other, procedurally exit the restaurant, and walk north on the sidewalk back to the hostel. And that is chapter 11 of Double Grape. Drink it now. It's on Amazon. Just search Double Grape, Drink It Now. And you can find, there's an ebook version.